You're listening to Podcast PXN,
a video game podcast,
delivering a player experience news.
Let's go! We've got rampant art theft from a former Bungie employee, and Randy Pitchford says, hold my beer. And welcome to Podcast PXN, episode 293. I am one of your hosts, Daniel Prindle, aka Dan is DTM on, yes, Twitter. And I'm joined over Discord by our resident Embark Glazer and my fellow Spartan, Gage Dempster.
ready to glaze.
Oh, is that the new saying? Ready to glaze?
Ready and able and willing to glaze.
God. Oh, Jesus. All right. Thank you to everyone who is watching us live and participating in the chat. Just as a reminder, we are live each and every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on youtube.com/@podcastpxn and twitch.tv/podcastpxn as well. Sanji Himura, thank you for joining us in the Twitch chat. The topic of the show this week, Gage, is... Are you a real fan? Are you a real fan?
We're going to find out.
We're about to find out. Let's dive into what the man, Randy Pitchford, has done, because he's done it again. Gage, he's done it again. You know what he's done again?
He's done a Randy.
He's done a Randy. Yeah. So, all right. Are you a real fan? Randy Pitchford doesn't seem to think so if you can't pony up $80 to pay for a game. So on our beloved Twitter, that we will not be calling the other name, Randy was responding to a fan that said, Randy, this game better not be $80. Don't take that risk. A lot of gamers aren't going to pay $80 and feed this notion of constant increase of the price tag. You are the CEO. You have some say with the price when it comes to your publisher. Randy responds with, A, not my call. B, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. My local game store had Starflight for Sega Genesis for $80 in 1991 when I was just out of high school working minimum wage at an ice cream parlor in Pismo Beach. And I found a way to make it happen. So that created quite a stir to fans of Borderlands and across the industry, of course. And obviously we know how much of a piece of shit Randy Pitchford is, just to put it plainly out there. But Randy, it's not a good idea to insult your own fans and say, like, you can do this. It's fine. Like, that's not the right approach.
I don't know that I've ever heard of like an artist from any industry interacting with their fans with an ultimatum saying, well, if you're a real fan, and then that story ends well for them. I don't like, it's just not a good idea. It's a bad idea to do that. Yeah. Whenever I think Randy Pitchford can't get worse, it seems like he's such an anomaly. It's almost as if this guy just walked into the industry and has never had any PR training. But then you realize, no, he's been in the industry for like decades, and he just doesn't know when to not be himself, which should be all of the time.
No, when you start a video saying, "Hey-o," and you think that's like fucking cool or hip,
yeah,
your name's Randy Pitchford.
He does happen to be, unfortunately, the cringiest person. Maybe the cringiest CEO in all of gaming.
I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the biggest piece of shit. But it does bring up an interesting question, and I think we both have the same answer to this, but it's fun to ask the question anyways, just to continue to go down this path. Is fandom determined by the ability to buy things? Are we all of a sudden transitioning our fandom to, well, I can afford these things, so I must be a fan. I can afford $1,000 worth of Halo items, so I am a Halo fan. That's not what determines my Halo fandom. Like, what are we talking about here? We're talking about buying physical things for determining our fandom. That's insane.
It is the continued integration of consumerism into every facet of our culture. Buy, purchase. No, seriously, like I mean,
right.
It's in the background, but that is, I mean, the fact that a CEO feels brazen enough to say it means that we are slowly turning the dial in that direction of how your worth is determined by how much you can purchase and spend, which is crazy. And that's not, and you're right, that's not how it should be, right? Like
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head when you said an artist shouldn't be saying that. And I think we've learned pretty recently that Randy Pitchford isn't an artist because he worked pretty heavily with the Borderlands movie, and that thing's a fucking absolute train wreck. One of the worst movies I've ever seen, if not the worst.
Right.
But Sanji says in the chat, what got me is his overall snarky attitude of shut up and consume content. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. Just
perfect. Yeah.
Entitled. And he's so damn far from like what the average consumer is now. Like he's made a ton of money from a couple of acquisitions of his studio, because they were first sold to, I believe, Embracer, and then Embracer sold them back to Take-Two. So Randy fucking made a bunch of money from those deals, and he is nowhere close to your average person and cannot understand what the average person is going through right now. So yeah, that's the next point I want to bring up, so this is not in defense of Randy Pitchford, so don't take this as that. But I will say that probably Take-Two has a big say in what the price point is. I don't disagree with that point necessarily. However, speaking down to your fans isn't the way you handle this. Like, there's other ways you could handle this. Like, I'm trying to advocate for fans to our publisher right now. Like, you could have said it that way, and that would have sounded much better. But like, speaking down to your fans, saying you should be able to afford this, rather than going to your publisher and saying, like, I feel like this is something that should happen. Like, it should be $70, not $80. I don't know.
Right. And I mean, I the main problem I have with his argument is that he brings up that between Borderlands 3 and Borderlands 4 that the development cost has doubled. Like, what do we think the average development cost increase was from games made in the year 2000 to the games made in 2015, in which there was no price increase?
Yeah.
Like, it's not a good justification. And then the other thing is that, I mean, placing I immediately think to, like, if you look outside of the bubble of like North America, where like we're pretty privileged, like there's a lot of gamers in other areas of the world that are playing games on potato computers just because they enjoy it and because it's their favorite hobby. And like I'm thinking of them right now, where it's like there's somebody out there that's like a Borderlands fan that like just scrapes by and they hear that, they're like, damn, you know what I mean? Like if there's somebody out there that loves Borderlands as much as you love Halo, right? And they just can't quite spend that kind of money, hearing the CEO say that, it's got to sting.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, not something you really want to support either. Like,
no,
I wouldn't be inclined to go run out and buy the next game so quickly. And yeah, not great. No. And then he sent a follow-up video today, super early in the morning, mind you, at 4:36 a.m. Eastern time. He sent a video and he said, if you want the truth, here it is. And in the video, he's basically talking about how development costs have gone through the roof and that Borderlands 4 was essentially double the budget that Borderlands 3 was. And therefore, like, it could be warranted that this game is going to have a higher price coming from the publisher. And he did mention that the publisher would determine the price. But once again, like, you are the CEO, you do hold some weight. Like, I'm not saying Absolutely. that you're going to go into Strauss Zelnick's office and he's going to be like, okay, Randy, I'll set it to whatever price you want. I'm not saying that, but like, your voice is going to have some sort of say in terms of that. And to not even try that or not even advocate for your gamers is kind of a slap to the face, in my opinion. And blaming the ballooning budget of Borderlands 4 versus Borderlands 3, that doesn't make any sense to me either, because you need to scope your game appropriately and, you know, have the appropriate amount of people making that game. Like we've talked about in the past on here, I think a lot of developers need to start splitting off smaller teams within the studio to make other games while they're making a big project, because they're cannibalizing all the resources, and then you're going to get to the point where if you have a failed project, then that studio shuts down because of how much the game costs to make.
Right.
So no, the video didn't help much, Randy.
No, it did not. He pulled that out like it was a get out of jail free card. He's like, this will do it. This will fix the problem.
Yeah. Incredible. All right, that is enough talking about Randy, because, you know, we don't really like talking about Randy, but I just thought that would be a funny topic of the show this week. But now we have to move into a bit more serious matters. Well, serious tone, I guess. That was also a serious matter. In our first item of the PXN news of the week, plagiarism in marathon art has been exposed. So to start, this started last week, late in the week, where there was an artist known as Anti-Real that posted a bunch of comparisons of her work that she had made in the past in her portfolio, and comparing them to many of the designs that were seen in the recent marathon alpha test. And she had been sent, I believe, some of the art from some of her friends and didn't realize that apparently Bungie had lifted a bunch of assets directly from poster designs that she made in 2017. So basically set the internet ablaze and people were losing their minds. Of course, this is not the first time that this has happened to Bungie. They've had a couple of other claims in the past of Destiny art being stolen as well. One of which was with Hasbro, I believe. Hasbro was the one who designed Nerf weapon, and it was directly based on the design of someone that someone made on the internet. And in both of those cases, Bungie gave money or whatever their agreement was to the people who were affected, to the artists who were affected. And in this case, things escalated from here because Bungie had scheduled a Bungie developer diary or whatever you want to call it for Marathon last Friday, and they were supposed to have that a stream showing some new stuff. Instead, they decided to cancel showing any of the stuff that they had planned to show. And at the onset of the stream starting, the art director, Joe Cross, immediately apologized on stream and personally to the artist Anti-Real, and explained that a former artist had done this. A former artist had placed Anti-Real's art on a decal sheet that was used for production. Bungie is now also planning to audit all Marathon artwork by their internal artists, which is why they're delaying some content. They also said they will remove and recreate all the stolen artwork. And Bungie has also reached out to Anti-Real to ensure they do right by the artist, which I'm assuming will come in some form of compensation, although one person had a good question on the stream of, because Anti-Real also is unemployed, they said that she clearly has a very good grasp on that art style and that art design, and obviously some of her stuff is literally in the game, that people were like, hey, maybe you could offer her a job. And to that, they can't. It seemed like a legal thing that they couldn't really like say anything regarding that, but they did say they wanted to reach out and have conversations with her. So maybe that happens, but either way, not not great from
right.
from this whole ordeal.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's a way out of this without either A, hiring her, or B, paying her for, like, you can't just, her art style essentially seems to be Marathon, this new direction of Marathon. Like, when you look at her posters, it's like, yeah, those posters appeared in game, but the entire style of like Marathon, like, it just throws the whole thing into question. Like, sure, maybe they had a style that looked very, very similar and they just borrowed some of her posters, but you don't, like, she did this art in 2017. Like, this is a problem. This has opened up a huge can of worms for them in terms of like the chicken or the egg, which came first, because it's like, in my mind, you're not going to show any Destiny content because you're going to redo some of the stolen artwork. But in my mind, it's like the whole art style seems to be inspired by her work. So, like, the next time we see Marathon, is it going to be photorealistic? Like, obviously not. So, I don't know. I don't know. I think this is insane. I think it's incredibly coincidental and very nice for Bungie that this was done by a single employee that no longer works there. That's pretty handy for them. I don't know. I think this is pretty scummy, and the fact that it hasn't happened before, or sorry, the fact that they have been in the situation before, is not a very good look for the higher ups at Sony. And I don't know. I don't know how to get out of this without hiring her or compensating her a lot of money, because I think there's a good case for her, if she wanted to be like, hey, I think your entire game, your whole art style, this whole property now is based off of my works, and I think she'd have a case there.
It is interesting. I think that part of it, there may be a bit more controversy in our opinions on that, because I don't think so let me preface, because before I get to that, let me finish this and then we'll get to that. So, okay. The artist Anti-Real, she responded and she said she was completely overwhelmed by the response to this. Thank you so much for the support, and especially to those who have donated. It helps enormously. Very, very cool that people were donating to her. Of course, she's unemployed, as I mentioned, and right. Struggling as an artist, which is very key. So if you want to donate to her, I'm just going to shout her out. Her ad handle is fucking complicated. 4NT1R34L.
Did you get all that?
You get all that? Yeah. It's Anti-Real except with numbers, so yes. But Christian did have some points that he wanted to us to mention as well. Christian, I will get to those. You wait just a second. I said we'll get to that. Hang on. He wants me to play his VM, which his VM is almost exactly what my opinion is as well. So I'll play that first. I guess we'll have to make sure that sounds good through you'll have to let me know, Gage. So, well, you know what? Let's just go ahead and play that now, because this next part kind of goes with that. You'll have to tell me how this sounds. Okay, ready?
Here's a voicemail for the podcast that you can play.
Can you hear it?
To add to the conversation, I'm sure you'll talk about it, which is Marathon's art plagiarism. I don't agree that the game is totally gone, because I'm not someone who believes the entire aesthetic of the game is stolen, because I don't think that's true, right? I mean, it is true that a bunch of assets were lifted and used without permission. I won't deny that. But both the artist and Bungie's style for Marathon are both rooted in existing styles. The problem is that in the court of public opinion, a lot of people are going to conflate, plagiarized assets with plagiarized aesthetic, which again isn't true, But that I think is going to matter the most when trying to ship a product after the fact. I think the way they addressed it with the non-primary social account was not the move. And I think it's going to take a lot of work to win back trust, because this is the fourth time they've done this. And people were already not confident about the core gameplay. Now being unsure about the art style is just another block that they have to go over, which is going back to what we talked about last week, which is this game most likely needs a significant delay. Is Sony willing to give that to Bungie? I don't know. And if they don't, then how long will the game survive as a live service product? I would venture not as long as Bungie would hope. And maybe Sony is kind of hoping that it doesn't go over very well and they can kind of gut the higher ups and kind of take over. So, what do you think?
Yeah. So that was Christian's VM. He's in the YouTube chat. He was yelling at me to play it. So there you go, Christian. The reason why I thought the same thing, eventually, I will say when I first saw everything coming out and when I saw Marathon's art director, Joe Cross, followed this artist also, my alarm bells were ringing. And I was like, this seems fucking way too convenient. Like, this is all just, hang on, this seems like crazy. However, when we kind of got more information of A, the former employee, B, Joe Cross seemingly felt like awful about it, and C, there was a post that Paul Tassi posted where people were finding Joe Cross's work from 11 years ago, which would have been 2014. And his aesthetic is very much the same. Like, the Marathon aesthetic is very much in all of his art from 11 years ago, 2014. So I don't think that Joe was stealing her art or anything like that. Now, they both share a love of probably the same type of art, that same style, and I'm sure he got some inspiration from her, but I wouldn't say that the entire Marathon aesthetic was taken from her, if that makes sense. I think this isn't to discredit like what her art is. I think her art is incredible. I'm not saying that, and I don't think Christian's saying that. I think we're just saying like it was more so that they both share a love in this type of art, and that's why there was connections there. And then this other Bungie employee that literally stole her art was another thing, like just a whole other thing.
Yeah, I mean, I could see either. I mean, I could see either case being true. And that was the point of my comment, is that by doing this, they've opened up a can of worms. And Christian actually put it better in his VM, where it's like the court of public opinion versus what actually happened.
Right.
It almost doesn't matter because they've opened the door for this to happen. I don't know. I think you guys are just aren't as what's the word? Pessimistic as I am. I mean, you guys could absolutely be right. I don't know. I think it's awfully suspicious. I'd like to believe. I don't know. It seems like the art style to me is very. I don't know. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I think either way, we can both agree. Like, this is the absolute last thing that Bungie needed right now. And
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if one of the studio heads made a deal with the devil like 20 years ago and was like, hey, and the devil was like, we're going to give you 10 years of just unbridled success. And then 10 years later, you guys are going to get your shit pushed in. And now we're just seeing the deal come full circle because Bungie just cannot seem to catch a break lately.
Well, and yeah, and there could be some parallels drawn there because, yeah, I think a lot of people have pointed to Pete Parsons in particular to name drop as him being a big part of the problem in terms of management. He's literally the CEO of Bungie and seemingly is making decisions for the company that's making the company worse. And one example of that I linked here, Lana Rupert, who was a former Bungie developer, she was let go in the 2023 layoffs, I believe. And she kind of put it very well in her post here, so I'll just read it real quick. She said, "This is a good thread. Lot of good folks behind the aesthetic, had many influences, and I hate that being overshadowed by bad actors in the space. No, it does not excuse direct ripping. That was wrong, and the artist deserves better, and the fact that this keeps happening is not good. But this is a style. Give the devs the proper resources to be inspired, and they can do amazing things. Cut those resources, corners are cut, and bad actors have a fertile playing ground." And with that, I wish the devs the best. I wish the community a very hearty, keep the pressure on the right people, and urge people to please retain your humanity when discussing very passionate topics. You can rally, critique, and demand, but if you can't do it without telling people to kill themselves and without leaving yourself open to taking in new information, then you have some growing to do, just like we all do. You should never stop growing, no matter what is going on. So yeah, I thought her comment about cutting resources was very pointed and makes a lot of sense, because they did fire a bunch of people in 2023, or lay off, whatever you want to call it. And maybe the artists were feeling pressure. And again, this isn't excusing it. It shouldn't happen. But maybe the artist started feeling pressure, and then they're like, oh, I could just take this and put this in, and it'll make it easier, and I'll hit my deadlines. So a lot of this could be from upper management kind of not giving good direction here for the studio. Christian, I missed I missed Christian's comments. It's definitely more than one person at this point. These are far from isolated incidents. Oh, for sure. The Destiny stuff, absolutely. That, I think that was another developer. And then the Hasbro incident was someone at Hasbro that straight up ripped the design for the Nerf weapon. And Sanji says, Gage, I've been involved with the industry as a consumer advocate since 2017. You're absolutely right. Pessimism does come with the territory. There you go.
I feel incredibly validated. Thank you, Sanji.
I did forget. That was one thing I did want to point out. One thing I don't necessarily agree with Christian on from his VM was he said he didn't like that this came from like a rando account of them like explaining it. But what I will say is the account that it came from was the Marathon Dev Team account, which is entirely ran by the boots on the ground developers. It's the same. They created this after Marathon was announced, just in the same way that the Destiny developers created the Destiny development dev team account as well, where they handle all the posts and all of that. This isn't Bungie higher ups that control this account. This isn't corporate. This is the actual employees,
right?
And it's not like the message didn't get out there, because I'm looking at this original post. It has 2.6 million views, which is insane. But they did detail it here as well. I don't think I need to read this whole thread, because it basically says everything we've already said about their investigating and replacing all the assets. But it is going to be interesting to see if Sony lets them delay it, because at this point, with them having to replace a bunch of assets, and like they're having to go over and analyze all of their art to see like if anything else was stolen, that's going to take time. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Not looking good, chat. It's not looking good.
No. Especially when they have other shit they needed to do as well with the game.
Right.
I don't know.
You know what it is looking good for, though?
What's that?
Arc Raiders.
Arc
by
Raiders.
M-Dark Studios.
Yeah.
It's a great time to get invested in the Arc Raiders community.
That's true. There is one person on this podcast that actually believed in them and purchased them in Fantasy Critic. You know who that was, Gage?
That was you after, and you're so lucky that my brain is a fucking hornet's nest because I should have bought that.
Yep.
I'm so angry, dude. That's the...
You didn't. So, sorry. I'm sorry.
You don't deserve to have them in your fantasy league.
I do. I do, and I did, and I have them. All right. Let's move out of the news of the week and into the quick bites. The quick bites, Gage. The Last of Us episode 6 has dropped, and we have watched it. I'll go first, just because I was very happy with this episode. I've been very much on the same mindset as you this entire season. I think this entire season has been pretty disappointing for me, and hasn't quite worked. It has a lot of the same elements of the games, but it never quite feels the same. Episode 6, however, I loved a lot of the scenes, like the porch scene. I think they did really well, and I know it was different in how it and the timing of when it happens in the games, but I did really enjoy the performances there, and I think Bella does an amazing job as young Ellie. I think in my opinion, I thought she was a good young Ellie in season 1, and the flashback scenes, I think it works very well. But yeah, older Ellie, she still just doesn't make sense to me. It's still not quite there.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. Interesting. They did add some stuff that I found interesting as well. I don't want to spoil it for people since we're not doing a spoiler episode yet, but overall, I liked it a lot.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, I thought this was probably the strongest episode of this season. I think a lot of it has to do with, like you said, Bella plays. I think she embodies the younger Ellie, like really, really well. I think she gets it. She's really good with that angst and the childish nature. And the other thing is that her chemistry with Pedro Pascal is really strong. And I think that's why season 1 worked so well. And I think that's why this episode works so well, is that this is an episode that is entirely dedicated to the two of them doing flashbacks that in the original game were spread out, but in this episode they've condensed it all into one episode of just all these different flashbacks. I still, and I know Neil Druckmann was the writer for this episode. I still think some of the changes are baffling. I'm not a fan of all of them, but the episode as a whole worked really well. I thought ironically enough, the pacing of this episode was really great, and the pacing I think has been the biggest problem with this season. So it's strange to me that this episode was so well paced and kind of just flew by, and it felt great when the whole season has felt like an absolute like mismanaged slog. So that was strange to me, but I agree with you. I came out of this episode thinking, man, I really wish the whole season had this kind of, drive behind it.
Sure.
Yeah, it was a really great episode. I don't know if there's a lot riding. There's only one more episode left this season. There's a lot riding on that last episode to make people feel like they have been sufficiently satisfied for how long they've waited for season 2, because it really feels like it has not let up. It's not been worth it at all. But I'm hoping that they come back with this next episode. I think hopefully the next episode is maybe like an hour plus long. I think they really need, but we'll see.
Christian put in the chat, screw timing and subtext, huh? I don't agree with that. I think if you're talking about the porch scene, I think that in this specific circumstance, it worked very well for the show. I think that in the game, it's different because when you're playing the game, it kind of serves as a intermediary point, or like a bit of a like break, like you're taking a break away from the action. I don't think that you necessarily have that in a show per se. And Neil actually said that as well, something to that effect. And he didn't say that, but Neil said something to that effect of, I decided to do this because for the show, it made more sense for me to do this, this whole scene in one go instead of having it split up. But it's also personal preference, and
Yeah, I can't wait for when we talk spoilers, because I think
Sure.
I've got a lot to say on that as well. I half agree with what Christian's saying with the subtext stuff. The timing, I don't know. The timing on a lot of things is fucked up. They either could have committed to the structure of the game
For sure.
and taken the TV viewers along the same ride,
For
which
sure.
I think
that I agree on.
They could have done that, or they've decided to do this, and I think it hasn't really worked. It's kind of been all over the place.
Yeah,
I do agree with him. I do agree with him about the dialogue in that port scene. I thought that less is more has been a pretty good rule for the adaptation that they're not following. But timing, I agree with you, Dan. Like it's not 1-to-1.
See, I do think they, like you were saying, like it does feel like they tried to like do like a hodgepodge, like let's sort of do this, but sort of not do this, instead of like taking like, I've been very critical of my opinion of how things unfold in The Last of Us Part 2, and I know that I'm not in the majority in that or whatever, which is fine.
Right.
But like, instead of going from like The Last of Us Part 2 to something completely different, like what I would personally rather see, or just doing it exactly like the game, I am perplexed why they did something like weirdly in the middle, because to your point, the whole intro sequence of seeing Abby show up from the first second of the season, I think that's a mistake considering the events of the season. I definitely think that was completely wrong and shouldn't have happened. And that whole how that unfolded, but yeah. All right, that's enough Last of Us.
That's the last of The Last of Us.
No, there's still one more.
That's the last of The Last of Us for tonight.
For tonight, okay. All right, Jade Raymond has officially left Haven Studios. She's gone. They're making the game Fair Games for PlayStation. I think PlayStation owns Haven, actually. So is this boding well for Fair Games? I don't know. Seems like maybe Sony's online live service games maybe not so good.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this is a little bit of a nothing burger. I don't know that Jade Raymond has enough clout in the industry for people to have been paying attention to the studio the way that they have been. I've always been a little bit perplexed by that. She was a producer on some very good games, but I don't know that a producer has really that makes a good studio lead, or that would mean that this is someone to pay attention to. I don't know. So we'll see. It looks like live service is kind of live service and PlayStation don't seem to be getting along very well. Let's just say that.
The bigger question is, when is the next Jade Raymond game coming out? Because this is like the third straight time she's left.
I don't know.
David Leitch is officially directing the Netflix Gears of War movie. We got that news. They're going to be collaborating with the Coalition, and he is, let's see, John Spates, who is working with Dennis Villeneuve, adapting Dune, is also writing the script for this feature as well.
This is going to be either a 8 out of 10 really good movie, or a 6 out of 10 this is totally fine. There's no other option, because I'm looking through his filmography. He did the first John Wick, which was fire. He did Deadpool 2, which was fine. He did Atomic Blonde, which was fine. He did The Fall Guy, which a lot of people liked. I didn't, but it's fine. I'm hoping that the cast and the writing comes together in this, and this could be something fun, because Gears of War has always had a fun vibe, I think, that could make for a really fun movie. I think what'll kill it for me, though, is that if they release that first trailer and it says PG-13, I'm going to write it off immediately.
I just want to tell you, Christian wrote Jesus Christ, and I knew immediately what he was freaking out about, because I said Dennis Villeneuve, but I know it's fucking Denis, whatever, fuck.
Well, also
Jesus
that last
Christ.
name, the last name you really butchered more than the first.
Whatever, fucking A, Jesus Christ. I don't know
Yeah,
how to
respect the
pronounce
French Canadians.
a French Canadian's fucking name.
Denis Villeneuve. It's simpler. It's all, you know what's funny? That's what's funny about you mispronouncing foreign names. It's almost always simpler than your first attempt at it.
Yep. I know. Sometimes you just can't please them all. That's like WT Report says, never heard the name, but I do think that live services are on the way out the door. Yes. I think he's talking about Fair Games. Yeah. I agree with you in terms of PlayStation for sure.
Yep.
All right. The next quick bite, Gage. Hideo Kojima has handed off a USB containing a bunch of ideas after he is dead. Christian is working right now in the chat to try to steal that USB drive.
It's the scripture. It's the sacred scripture.
The first line of it is something fucking like, I will name the main character, and it'll be incredible. He says perhaps they could continue to make things after I'm gone at Kojima Productions. Or, I mean, you could just not care, Kojima. I mean, but
you will be dead and gone. Stop worrying about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Mission Impossible theme. Incredible. All right. Next quick bite here. We got a lot of Fortnite stuff. AI Darth Vader has come to Fortnite. They had some issues with him, though. They had to patch him within the first 24 hours because people were getting him to say the craziest shit. People got Darth Vader to say boobs, and somebody else got him to say fuck, like all kinds of stuff. Yeah. So it's not going well over there. They're using an AI voice of James Earl Jones, which supposedly they got the permission of the family, which I do remember Disney came to an agreement with the family or whatever, or maybe actually James Earl Jones himself, right? To use his voice in AI. Yeah. But on the back of that, SAG-AFTRA has filed an unfair labor practice charge against Epic for its use of AI for Darth Vader's voice in Fortnite. It says Fortnite's signatory company chose to replace the work of a human performer with AI technology. Unfortunately, they did so without providing any notice of their intent to do this and without bargaining with us over appropriate terms. And also, by the way, Fortnite's back in the App Store. They finally got it back, which is a huge win.
Back?
Yes, it is a huge win for alternate stores and alternate payments for the App Store that Apple has had a hold on for a long time.
Right.
Go talk to AI Darth Vader. All right, the next quick bite. Support for Call of Duty Warzone Mobile is officially ending. They said, we deeply appreciate your dedication and passion for Call of Duty Warzone Mobile. Going forward, we will be streamlining the scope of the game. The decision was made after careful consideration of various factors. And while we're proud of the accomplishment in bringing Call of Duty Warzone to mobile in an authentic way, it unfortunately has not met our expectations with mobile-first players like it has with PC and console audiences. So, no more new content for that game. Microsoft bought Activision for mobile. We're shutting down a big mobile game. I guess it's probably not big, if it's ending. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm okay with video game companies reeling in their mobile expectations. That's fine
Right.
with me. I'm very much a boomer mindset of this, where it's like games are played on consoles or PC, and that's put your resources there. I don't know. I think if you're gonna make a mobile game, wait until you have an idea that really fits the mobile structure. A great example, Balatro. That game plays amazing on mobile, and that is a fantastic port. So Call of Duty, I don't really think ever really needed to stay on mobile. I'm surprised that Fortnite has stayed so long on there, but maybe that works. I don't know.
All those little kids with those iPod touches, or I guess those don't exist anymore. iPhones.
That's crazy. You just dated yourself.
I did. Whoops.
Wild.
Oops.
All those kids playing on their Zunes. Come on.
They're playing their mommy's old iPhones. I can't believe that kids have iPhones now. That's crazy. I had a flip phone when I was a little kid.
Me too.
Insane. I wish Ro was here for this, because Cyberpunk 2077 sequel will feature a city that feels like Chicago gone wrong, according to the IP creator Mike Pondsmith. We're going to Chicago for the sequel.
Going to Chicago. Yeah. I can't wait for people to swear and shoot at me for no reason.
Hey, Rose.
Maybe that happens in the original game. I don't know.
Rose a big fan of Cyberpunk.
Is he a big fan of Chicago?
I don't know. Maybe he will after the sequel.
That's true.
The next quick bite, we have another Xbox Game Studios game coming to PlayStation 5 this summer, Gage. It is Hellblade 2 Senua's Saga.
Did you beat it, Dan?
I have not. And that's
so
embarrassing, because it's only like a fucking 6-hour game.
Nothing is... That is embarrassing, but it's just nothing is more embarrassing than you not being Still Wakes the Deep. That game is literally 45 minutes long.
It's not 45 minutes long. I spent hours in that.
It might actually be 3.5 hours long. It might actually be 3.5 hours long. I'm serious. I'm so serious.
I might be close in that then, because I spent hours in that.
Oh my god.
I have too many games that I started and then it stresses me out thinking about it.
Uninstall Halo Infinite for 6 months and you will destroy your backlog.
I can't do it. I can't do it, Gage. Oh gosh. All right. PlayStation Stars is officially coming to an end. What is it with all these things coming to an end? Sony says, since launching the program, we learned a lot from evaluating the type of activities our players respond best to, and as a company, we are always evolving with player and industry trends. Through this evaluation, we have decided to refocus our efforts and will be winding down the current version of PlayStation Stars. We will continue to evaluate our key findings from this program and are looking into ways to build upon these learnings. Goodbye, PlayStation Stars.
Bye, PlayStation Stars. It was nice to know you.
Was it nice?
No, it wasn't. I don't care about any of this.
Like these little digital bullshit things.
To get more digital bullshit.
Yeah. Don't care. As much as I don't care about Randy Pitchford. Christian says, rip gift card spamming. I'm assuming you could get gift cards from rewards, similar to Xbox rewards, which they also nerfed a while back.
Right.
You can still redeem them, but you don't get as many points. No. All right. Next quick bite. Mario Kart World apparently was originally a Nintendo Switch 1 exclusive. It started development 5 years ago, but it suffered performance struggles until the Nintendo Switch 2 delay offered them a ray of hope. That's crazy. Now it's a Switch 2 exclusive.
Now, exactly.
We couldn't get this to run on the previous console, so here we go.
I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? I mean, that means
That's
the
fair.
studio had such big goals and expectations with this game that it couldn't be released, rather than coming in and canceling the project.
Yeah.
Last of Us Online. They're like, you know what? We'll just put this on the back burner and we'll release it when it makes sense to do so.
Or releasing it broken, like Cyberpunk 2077 on last-gen consoles.
Exactly. This game doesn't really... The console doesn't seem like it's capable of running this. Release it anyways. It's fine.
Yeah.
They'll play it at 15 frames. Trust me.
Jesus. All right. Our last quick bite, which was just announced today. Xbox has announced Retro Classics, which are included with Game Pass. Starting today, Game Pass members can dive into a collection of 50-plus classic Activision games from the 80s and 90s. Over 50 restored and ready-to-play games available for Game Pass, community challenges, competitive leaderboards, all new challenge modes, high score rankings, and more. It also has achievements and is available for Game Pass members to play on console, PC, and supported devices with cloud gaming. Quite a bit of games here, 50 games, a lot on this list here. I recognize a couple of them, Grand Prix, Dolphin. Interesting. Play some classics. They're back. All right, Gage. It's that time of the night. We can now shit on the other two that aren't here. Well, maybe Christian's still listening, but that's his fault. We can now shit on both of them because we are in first and second place on Fantasy Critic. So here we are in Fantasy Critic. Do we have any updates this week? We do not. In terms of pickups, and I don't believe in terms of releases either, because last week we had Doom the Dark Ages, which got me 16 points. But to break down the points one more time here, I am sitting in first with 99 points. 2, 4, 6, 7 games released. Gage sits in second with 59 points. He's got 4 games released. Rowe sits in third with 39 points. With 3 games released, and Christian sits in dead last with 36 points and just 2 games released. Gage, how does it feel to actually be in second for once?
Well, you don't need to use the word actually, first of all. You threw that in, you slid that in there. I was gonna say that it feels great seeing Christian down in fourth. It's seeing him below me it's where he belongs.
Wow.
Looking at a lot of his games right now, and I don't know, man. It feels great being in second place. I'm letting you hold on to first place just for a little bit while I get my things in order, and then I will be sure to take that back as my rightful spot.
Yeah.
Listen. It's a close race. It's a close race this year.
It is a lot more competitive than it used to be when Dan just won them all.
All right.
All right. That is our fantasy draft check-in. Moving into the final segment of our show. What you got for me, Dan? What you got for me? Well, Dan, I've got good news. I'm going to start with the 2 that I know we do not share, and then maybe we can both talk about the other 2 because I know we both played. I've played about... Actually, I know you played one of these as well. So I'm going to start with the last one. Glenn, friend of the show, I finally convinced him to play Halo Infinite for the first time in like months. He hasn't played in months with me.
Months? Years, more like.
Probably years. You're probably right. So he joined. We played the new limited time mode, Mutilator Mayhem, which is all mutilators, which is the new weapon. And Glenn, I just want to say, get fucked. Because he was on the receiving end of a killionaire by me in that match. He was one of the kills. It felt incredible. Thank you, Glenn, for eating that. That was awesome. But moving into the other three that we both share, I think. Doom: The Dark Ages. I started last night and played about 2-ish hours, which was the first 3 chapters, I believe. So far, I'm very much enjoying this game. I will say, when I first booted up this game, I was a little worried about the controls because I was like, this feels fucking heavy. I don't like this. And then I was like playing around a little bit and realized the acceleration was fucking with me. I turned the acceleration completely off and I was like, okay, this feels great. I was
For
a little
movement
worried.
or for aiming?
Sorry, what?
You turn acceleration off for movement or for aiming?
For aiming.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, because it felt like super heavy when I was moving
Right.
the left to right aim. And I was like, fuck, this does not feel good. And then I turned that all the way off and it felt great. So Doom: The Dark Ages, I'm enjoying the heck out of it already. I'm only 3 chapters in. There's 22 chapters, I think. So I'm excited to dive more into it. I have already seen the mech suit, though. I saw it. I was like, oh, that's exciting. I don't know if that's the next mission or not, but I'm excited to play more.
Hell yeah.
Oh, God. Christian. The guy who has never reached 3rd place has something to say, apparently.
Oh my god.
Uh,
Why don't you hey, Christian, why don't you work on that Jeopardy board, huh? So I can atone for my sins. And then we can leave this behind us.
Incredible. Do you have anything on Doom: The Dark Ages?
Yeah, I played it for probably about the same. I think I started the 3rd mission. I don't know that I finished it. And I'm good. I uninstalled it. I'm good. I don't know what it is. I adored Doom 2016. I thought it was such a great reboot. I played it through twice. The second time on the hardest difficulty. I liked it a lot, and then for some reason Doom Eternal just didn't catch me. Or what I'm wondering now is, since Doom: The Dark Ages also didn't catch me, is that I've just had my fill of Doom for the next little while of just playing Doom 2016. I don't know what it is, but the game is a competent game. I don't think there's anything glaringly wrong with it. I just I got to this point where I opened up a chest and it was like, here's all the skill trees you're gonna unlock, and I looked at it and I was just like, I don't want to do any of this. And so I said to myself, you know what? I'm not going to do any of this. And
Fair
then
enough.
I uninstalled the game. So, hey, I'm always cheering for it. I have no ill will,
Yeah.
but it's just not for me.
I will say that I didn't expect the. Granted, we know Mick Gordon in that whole situation. I didn't expect to go into this game not loving the soundtrack. And I don't love this soundtrack. It felt very like it was definitely missing pieces. Like it didn't feel the same gravitas that the other 2 games feel.
It was very much like, hey, you like Doom? Here's some Doom music. And it's like, as opposed to like, here's something that somebody thought of and was like, yeah, this will be, you know what I mean? Yeah, I agree with that too as well.
For sure.
The fact that I wasn't thinking about the music, like like a couple, like an hour and a half in, I was like, oh yeah, why am I not like, because in Doom 2016, right, it hit you like a brick immediately.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
We also have been playing Battlefront 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2, the DICE made one, not the original Battlefront 2. Make that confusing. That game still holds up extremely well. It's really fucking good. Like you were talking about, Gage, the animations, like with Arc Raiders and the people that made that made Battlefront 2. Oh, it's so good. And the 120 FPS frame boost, fucking beautiful. That game already looks gorgeous, and to play it at 120 frames per second, absolute bliss.
Yeah, I really hope. I don't think so for whatever reason. I feel like it'll be quite a long time before we see any other Star Wars multiplayer projects. But I really hope that DICE, I don't know, genie in a bottle. I wish that maybe they're secretly prototyping something, or I don't know. I think that they were on such a good trajectory because the first Battlefront was lacking in content and lacking in scope for sure. But in terms of audio and graphics and animations, like it was solid. It was like, oh, this is great. Battlefront 2 came out and it solved a lot of the content problem, but it suffered for other reasons. Obviously, aggressive microtransactions. Speaking of Randy Pitchford, also had awful, defending from the CEOs of that game.
Yep.
Or some of the leadership of that studio
John
defending it in an
Riccitello.
awful way. Yep. But it felt like we were moving towards that pandemic kind of like we were getting closer and closer to a Star Wars battlefield, which is what Battlefront always was originally. And it sucks that we were like so close, right? To quote Ben Mendelsohn in Rogue One, we were on the verge of greatness. We were on the verge of greatness. But it does hold up extremely well, and I have a blast playing it all the time. I'm glad that we're back into it, and we can maybe play it a little bit more coming up. I'd love to get Christian in there and see and have him kind of get behind the sticks, because the game feels great on controller. It's one of the few games I can play and do well with on controller, and it just... Man, like I'm gonna praise DICE, but it also does feel genuinely like a lot of those people made their way to Embark, because it's like you said, like you're playing it, and you can feel that Arc Raiders has the ancestry of Battlefront. And anyways, yeah, Battlefront 2 feels amazing to play. It's maybe one of the best feeling third person shooters I've ever played in my life, and I'm glad that we're back into it.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to get to play it in 120 frames per second when you buy my TV from me. No, I'm just kidding.
Absolutely.
I'm kidding.
What? I know you're kidding because you won't even do it, even though I'm here begging.
I don't want to be responsible if that thing breaks. EA doesn't even know what made Bad Company 2 good, and motherfuckers got hope for a new Battlefront. Hey, that was a different generation. That was 10 years ago. Okay? We're going to figure it out. The one bright spot where John Riccitello is gone now. That dude's a piece of shit. He's gone.
I've opened up YouTube chat to see Christian. Okay, guy who has never reached third place has something to say, apparently. Very funny, but also go fuck yourself.
Oh, I just saw his comment about Doom. More like the mid ages. This man's probably not even played it. He watched a YouTube video of it.
Yeah. I checked with Twitter to see what their opinion was.
Yeah.
And I think I agree.
I watched someone else watch it. Watch The Last of Us. Sorry. I had to do it.
He is right, though. There's no point in holding my breath for Battlefront 3.
No, yeah. Right. They're absolutely not making it, which is sad. All right, the last game on my list, which you've also played, we finished Split Fiction. That game is a banger. I really enjoyed that game a lot. I do think when I think about it, I do miss those mini games just because like we're both of similar like brains, like that we get into a mini game that we fucking love and we couldn't fucking get out of it. Like I still want to go back and play the fucking ice one.
The shuffleboard or something?
Yes. I still want to go back and play that. Like that was so much fun, and I have so many good memories of that with It Takes Two. So I do miss some of that with Split Fiction. However, I think the narrative like direction of Split Fiction was way more interesting. The actual like cinematics were way more interesting. The bad guy was fucking stupid. Let's just be real.
Yes.
The bad guy was the most tropey thing I've ever fucking seen. Insane.
It got very cliche at the end, which was almost surprising because like the story was very like it felt like it was a love letter to gaming, but the story actually worked for it. Like Hazelight Studios is very, very, very competent with their writing, and I think at first you and I were expecting mini games because we thought that was a staple of the studio. Yeah. Whereas now looking back at it, I think that the mini games really lended themselves well to that story, and that you have these two bickering. What am I looking for? Partners on the verge of divorce or who are divorcing. I can't remember exactly how the story goes. But having mini games where they know the players are going to get invested and start trash talking each other, that works. It adds to the story that's already there.
Yeah.
So I think with the story that they were telling, I could get why they didn't want to derail it with mini games. And they kind of had something similar with like the side story bubbles that you could go through. The one thing I will say, even though by the end of it I like the story a lot more than It Takes Two, I think the pacing wasn't quite as tight. It felt like there were a couple of moments. It felt like there were a couple of sections of gameplay that were really impressive, and they happened like all around like the middle of the game. And I think some of the powers that you get and some of the gameplay mechanics it gives you in the last few missions are a bit underwhelming compared to some of the ones you get like halfway through the game.
Sure.
But that being said, there also was a couple of really great ones. Like there's the one with you were mentioning that there's one area of the game that we were playing it, and you have an ability to move interactable objects towards you, and I had an ability to sort of like turn on and off this light. And you brought up at one point that like we had been playing this section for like, I don't know, maybe 45 minutes, and we had done like 9 different puzzles, but all of them made us use our powers like completely differently and uniquely.
Yeah.
And it felt amazing. Hazelight, they understand gaming. They understand what makes video games fun, and they're definitely slowly becoming one of the studios that I am like just gonna be whatever comes out, I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna play it.
Yeah. They have such a variety of gameplay in their games. Like it's insane, honestly. The amount of variety of gameplay we played in Split Fiction, like. So many different styles of game, and like, top down and side scroller, and like just crazy how all of them feel really good in one cohesive game. And like you were saying, like making you utilize these powers that are the same powers, but like you're utilizing them in different ways to make it feel fresh every time you're playing. Like it is very, very smart.
Yeah, and the last tiny thing I'll add, because I just remembered saying it when we were playing it, is that Hazelight also, I feel like, slowly is becoming one of those studios that's like a master of Unreal Engine, in that, like you said, there's so many different gameplay mechanics and like gameplay genres that they make you play throughout the game. It'll go from side scroller to top down, etc., etc. And it's crazy how even though there might be a section where you're playing a completely different genre and you only do it once, everything feels tight. It feels good. It feels smooth, like on the controller, as opposed to like a game like Back 4 Blood that'll come out that is a fully fledged title that I love. I love Back 4 Blood. I'm not throwing shame into it, but like it feels clunky and it feels janky, and you're like, oh, this sucks. Yeah. It's just crazy to me that Hazelight can do like what is essentially, I don't know, 9 different genres, types of games in one game, and all of them feel like, like they worked the entire time on just this. This feels good. This feels really smooth. So yeah, shout out to Hazelight and their mastery on Unreal Engine, because I'm starting to think of them like how I used to think of the Coalition, where it's like, oh, that's the Unreal Studio. They know how that engine works. That's kind of like what Hazelight's becoming. So kudos to them for that.
Yeah, let's send a couple of those engineers over to Turtle Rock to make Back 4 Blood too.
Please, I need a good Left 4 Dead style game.
Yeah. Because we know we're not getting Left 4 Dead 3.
Well, we don't know that, actually. We don't know that for sure.
Do you have any other games, Gage?
I do not.
Okay.
I do not have any other games.
Excellent. Well, you know what that means, though, right?
What's up?
That means we hit a tight 1 hour.
Look at us go.
All it took was the 2 people here. Boom. We're the best. We're the best of them. Right,
we are the
Christian?
best of them. We're the best of us.
Just kidding. Just kidding. We love you, Christian and Ro. But thank you again to everyone joining us live on YouTube and Twitch, as well as podcast services everywhere, including Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcasts. Thank you, Gage. Thank you, Ro and Christian, who will return. Christian's in the chat, of course. I am Daniel, and this has been Podcast PXN, and we are out. Much love, and keep on gaming.
Thank you to Dilnell Villanueva.
Fuck you, Randy.
Fuck you, Randy.